This is Trey Jadlow. I'm here on this uh, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening for Fox to discuss some issues that came up in a thread that I had posted and Fox took issue with regarding really most of what I would consider most of Europe, especially Western Europe, some difficulties that are coming. And it was posted by somebody writing for the Wall Street Journal. I don't have his name. And I was basically saying that they're pretty much, from my perspective, Western Europe is pretty much finished, and it's just a matter of time. And Fox thinks that's inflated rhetoric. And part of the problem was, in this particular article, was talking about is it Angela Merkel? Yeah. And inviting Turkey to basically have free access to the EU, and which would make their new borders to be Syria, Iraq, and Iran. And my concern is, and what I wanted to talk about, and the thing that we talked about before, is my biggest concern is the loss of a meta-narrative in the European mindset. That very foundation which gave them everything that they have, they repudiated it, and now have replaced it with nothing. And so now I see them as a people without an identity, and they're very vulnerable toward those who have a meta-narrative and are strong. What do you think of that, Fox?
Well, I have to say, I think it sounds a little bit like nonsense to me, Trey.
Okay, how so?
Well, I think it's overgeneralized. I think you're painting a picture in far too broad strokes. I've not heard any evidence. I've just heard sort of sensationalist, kind of right-wing rhetoric of this fear of the Turks coming and destroying Europe. I find there are problems with Turkey's potential accession into the European Union, and that might be an issue. But ultimately, I think this idea that Western Europe is nearly dead is, it's just a nonsense. I live in Western Europe, and it seems like it's got its problems, don't get me wrong, but it seems like a pretty good part of the world to live in. In fact, I would say that the people who live in Western Europe have amongst the best living standards of any humans who have ever lived.
Well, what do you think about the mounting debt? I would love to do a screen share, but I don't know if it'll work. I don't know how it works really, but I've got to
remind me the levels of debt in the US as a comparison, Trey.
The U.S. is almost as bad as Western Europe, and this is the whole thing.
So pretty sure it's probably worse, Trey, in many respects.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not worse. However, here's my problem, Fox. All right, Greece is at 160% of their GDP in debt.
Yep.
And have you heard of the acronym of PIGS? I guess I just Portugal, Ireland,
Italy,
Greece, and Spain, Italy and Spain. What do you think is going to happen once when Greece defaults on their debt? They're at 160% of their GDP, and they have no remorse for what they're doing. They're saying, "I don't care. We're not going to change anything." And the EU says, "Okay, we'll keep going." What do you think is going to happen? Do you actually think it's going to come to a point? Every one of the EU states is racked with debt. Great Britain is at 90% of their GDP is due to debt. What do you think is going to happen? And you have a falling birth rate, so you have an aging population and out of control debt. Nobody's really talking about it, and I don't understand that.
Well, I don't think that's true, Trey. I think the Europeans themselves are talking a lot about the debt issue, so I find that's slightly ridiculous. I also think.
Well, how are you going to get out of it? Then what are you talking about? What is it? I'm ignorant of it.
How is any developed Western nation, or even I guess you could throw Japan into that? How do we all get out of the debt trap? That's a question for the entire globe. I don't think it's.
I totally agree.
To Western Europe.
I think the destruction that is coming is absolutely catastrophic, and I don't see how it can be. Only thing that could save it would be extreme, austere cuts. Nobody is doing it. You've got to understand.
That's not true. That's not true, Trey. That's not true. You can try, and the government in this country has tried to cut its way to to growth, cut the deficit, and it's failed. I mean, what we needed after the crash was better market regulation and in terms of the banking industry, and a proper kind of Keynesian stimulus, I would say. And what we got instead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what we got instead was a quite reactionary, right-wing kind of coup, where it was blamed on the welfare, excessive welfarism and kind of the feckless poor, as opposed to being what should have been a repudiation of the Thatcherite Reagan economics that dominated, many Western countries for 30 years, which led to, falling wages for many people on lower incomes, and an increasing amount of wealth concentrated into fewer and fewer hands. I mean, that's the problem, Trey. I mean, I would say if we had a more equitable and distributive society in terms of wealth, then that would solve many of the issues that face our economies. But I just think it's slightly. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not an economist, and neither are you. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what the percentage of debt limit is before things, as you say, melt down. Especially when you essentially can, a lot of the debts are owned to central banks themselves. And then there is also, I mean, there is the issue of historic debt. I mean, for instance, the UK was massively indebted after the Second World War, and yet we still managed to build a welfare state. We still managed to improve lots of things. So fixation on debt. I would prefer to see more wage growth for lower earners, a more distributive economy. I would prefer to see that, and I think there are signs that some parties in Europe are starting to wake up to that and starting to at least ask those kind of questions. I mean, there aren't any easy. I'm not going to say there are any easy answers, but this is a problem that faces the entirety of the globe, and it isn't just about the economy. It's also about ecology as well. We face climate changes over the coming century. We're going to see an expanded population and less resources. All these big questions, and they're important questions to ask. And the answers are not going to be easily coming. But I think to assume that we need a singular meta narrative, for instance, to solve that, and that would be one that is your meta narrative, is not going to be the case. I think that's been and gone, and I don't think you can blame the current problems that we have on that. So I mean, I think it's probably best to get slightly back on topic, because I think we might have gone a little bit off there.
Well, meta narrative is the key to everything. But Fox, I mean, I'm trying to get you to look at the picture there. What is going to happen when Greece falls? What's going to happen to Ireland? What's going to happen to Italy? What's going to happen to Spain and Ireland? Portugal. What's going to happen to those countries? They're going to fall like dominoes, right? Look at Spain; they've got a negative, as the GDP, their growth. Ireland is negative. Italy is negative. Greece is negative. And when you add it all together, these are old numbers. They're at 160% of their GDP. You guys don't understand.
Trey, I think it's rather patronizing to say we guys when you sit in a country which has, I mean, I guess I'll have to see what percentage of debt to GDP ratio is for the US.
It is terrible. We are in the same position. This is my concern. We're all in this together, Fox. But you guys are going to fall first.
71.8%. Well, I don't know what you mean by fall. I don't know what you anticipate is going to happen.
What is going to happen when Greece falls and all these other countries fall like dominoes? What do you think is going to happen to their economy?
Well, Greece's economy is already in a terrible state. It's already massive. It's already suffering under the quite punitive measures that the European Union have enforced upon the Greeks in an attempt.
The European Union is bailing them out, Fox.
The European Union is bailing them out. I mean, but Greece's problem is that it never really should have entered into the euro.
It's too late for bygones to bygones. This is where we're at, and they are going to go down, and you guys are going to have to pick it up, and you don't have the money for it. You're at 90%. These numbers are off, and you got to add both the green and the blue together. But you guys are at 90% of your GDP now. What do you think is going to happen? That 90%, that means 90% of the money that you make goes to debt.
Yep, but that's not always going to necessarily be the case.
Well, I hope not. But you've also got an aging population, and you guys have no. Do you guys understand that when you invite Turkey to come in to be a part of the European Union, it said right here in the thing, it said it's elected by an elected Islamist with an autocratic streak, prone to anti-Semitic outbursts, who openly supports Hamas, denies Armenian genocide, jails journalists in record numbers, and orchestrates Soviet-style show trials against political opponents. Do you guys understand it? You're opening up. You're saying, "Come on in and be a part of us." The whole Christian perspective is thrown overboard.
There we go. There we go. We get into the crux of the issues.
Indeed, it is.
There isn't anything. This isn't anything really to do. I mean, the issues that you're talking about are not anything to do with the fact that there's been a collapse. In fact, if you look at that list there, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Portugal, Spain, they're all actually more religiously minded and have a stronger religious tendency than the UK, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Sweden. You know, I mean,
I am not saying that, I'm not saying the fact that you have a religious meta narrative somehow recipe for success. I am saying one that is consistent and one that can unify. Entire Europe had one definition of their people, and there were all kinds of factions and differences, especially in Ireland and in other places. But there is no meta narrative now. And remember what I've always said.
Did you know what happened? Did you not happen? There was a few quite nasty conflicts that Europe has had over the centuries when it was supposedly unified under your meta narrative. Do you have any idea how many people have been lost? And since the secularization of Europe after the Second World War, do you know how many people have died in inter-European conflicts in comparison? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean,
yes, but what you're doing is you're trading the mini for the meta. The entire system is getting ready to fall. Do you not understand that?
People have been saying that for decades.
It doesn't matter how long they've been saying it. Listen,
in fact, they've been saying it for centuries. So it's just all doom mongering, and there's nothing coherent here.
Okay, remember what I said. The diversity will always be subsumed by the unity. Always, always, always. You've got a team with no plan. The team that has a plan, even if they're a rotten team, will beat them. You guys have, there is no more meta narrative. No, there's no definition to European people. That's what I posted on the link.
That's not true, though, is it true?
You guys are no longer a world player anymore in the UK.
Why should we be?
Well, so you admit it.
No, but Trey, why should
you guys are insignificant? You are following, and I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm saying this because I want you guys.
Can you answer my question, please? Why should any one country of about 63 million people be a superpower? Why should that be the case?
They should have significance because they are unified and they have a plan and they make a difference. When you have
should the so let's say that there are 63 million. It was probably about 80 million people in Iran, I think. They've got a unified meta narrative, and Iran isn't a superpower of any distinction and it hasn't got the power that United Kingdom has it?
No, so you say they have a meta narrative. You concede that.
Well, no. Let's say by your rules, Iran does have an ideology, doesn't it? It has a regime in place which has
it has a meta narrative that is very ugly, and it can easily take you over because you have none. This is my problem.
But this is just more assertion, Trey. I mean,
do you not agree that Turkey is coming in and they have the Middle Eastern meta narrative? Do you agree with that?
I actually think Turkey has over the last century or so had a decent tradition of sort of secularism in comparison to the rest of the Muslim world.
Yeah, and that's pretty bad, though, isn't it? I mean, that's not saying much.
Well, it is actually, and I think there has been a shift in recent years under the current president of Turkey. I'm not a fan of, but actually, Turkey's relationship to the rest of Europe has drifted quite significantly over his time.
Does he support the Hamas?
I'm sure he does. That's his lookout.
Yeah,
but
that's great, isn't it? And Soviet style.
Hamas. But the thing is, you have to remember, Trey. I mean, Hamas. I'm no fan of Hamas, but they are actually democratically elected representatives of the Palestinians to an extent, and they are fighting an occupation.
They're terrorists, aren't they?
So, well, you could say the same about the Israeli state.
No, they're not. Israel just wants to be left alone, but Hamas.
Israel wants to be left alone by building settlements on Palestinians' land, Trey. That's not being left alone, is it? Who do you think was there before the Jewish settlers? I mean, I actually support.
And who was there before the Palestinians?
Well, you know, who do you want to go all the way back in time? I'm talking about if you want to know why the Israelis don't have any significant legitimacy to that land, in my opinion, more than the Palestinians. So they are there. I support the existence.
And so they should be eradicated because they don't belong there, and they were given that by the UN.
Are you? This is just absurd. Did I mention that anyone should be eradicated?
You said they don't have any right to be there.
If you let me finish, Trey, I would say that they do have some right to be there. The people who live there now. I don't agree. I think that the creation of the state of Israel was probably slightly gerrymandered and complicated. I support the existence of the state of Israel. I support the two-state solution. I think there should be a Palestinian state. I think that the Israeli state should remove itself from Palestinian lands, and that they should recognize the state of Palestine should be recognized. I think that's the best thing to do. That unfortunately the Israeli state blocks that progress, so we can't really get any. You know, we can't be surprised when people who feel that they are being oppressed and shoved into what is essentially one of the world's biggest refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. You can't be surprised when they resist that occupation. So I think there is significant. Well, this is a bit of a tangent, Trey, but you know that my point. I think I don't even know what point I was actually. So you can get back on topic if you'd like.
Okay. Well, I maybe I am crazy, and maybe I probably don't know what I'm talking about. I'm worried though, Fox. I'm worried about the future. I see stuff that makes me very nervous. I've told you before that Japan, by the end of this century, 60% of Japan will be extinct. And
I don't know how you what exactly do you mean by how can something be 60% extinct?
60% of the population will be dead. In the next 10 years, they'll have one person turning 100 for every newborn that is born. They don't have any children, and they've maintained that. They have a birth rate of 1.4. You maintain 1.4 for 2 generations. I think it's something like you start losing 40% of your population every 40 years. It's frightening. And in the EU is the same way. And Germany right now has the same birth rate, but they've not maintained it for so long. It's frightful.
But Trey, you know what my response would be to that. I think I've been over this before. I think that we collectively as a species probably do need to reduce our population steadily and slowly. I don't think we can sustain ever increasing numbers of humans on this planet. I think
Can you hold on just a minute, please?
Yes.
Oh dear. I think that's God speaking to him. He does look like a mad prophet. Anyway.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
In the wrong office. Okay, so what were we saying?
You were saying that you were scared.
Well, yeah, I'm scared is an actual word. I mean, it's frightening, but I mean, I am like, to me, I see it like a picture coming like a movie. I'm saying destruction and dissolution is coming at a frightful speed. I see him coming, and like I said, I think the first domino is going to be when Greece falls, and then things are going to start falling after that, and after that, and after that. It's going to get very, very difficult. And like I said, I'm concerned about those who don't have a game plan for existence. If you don't have a game plan, then you're just kind of wandering, you're meandering around. There's no unity in your existence.
Don't have a game plan for existence. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, Trey. Do you think that? I mean, for instance, I'm not someone who would say I have a particular meta-narrative for how I live my life. But I like to think, I am politically engaged. I care about social development and prosperity and flourishing. I care about. I value traditions to an extent. I value the arts and culture, and have hope for the potential of humanity to develop and advance and progress. And I think that's for all your doom mongering. I think it's easy to forget that actually, in many respects, we do face. I'm not going to sweep the problems of the carpenter. Everything's fine. We do face great many problems, but at the same time, I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that actually we are in many ways we've never had it quite so good.
Okay, but let me ask. I need to ask you a question, Fox. So you say that you're involved in the arts, you're involved in politics and stuff. Do you have a reason to do that, or is it just something you just feel?
Do I have a well? Because I find that valuable, and I find it engaging and interesting and exciting and fun. And
so you don't have a reason.
Those are reasons, Trey.
No, you're saying it's fun. But you're not saying that somehow that there's not a moral imperative, like we need to do this for the purpose of existence because existence is important, other than it's your personal emotion that you feel, but you don't have a reason for it.
Well, I think we've been over this before. I do value my existence. I value the existence of the human species.
Right. And the question is why, though? Do you have a reason for it?
Because the human species has proven itself on some occasions to be able to achieve quite amazing and wonderful things. And I think an answer. That is an answer, Trey. When you get to that point where you don't accept that answer, that doesn't mean that
it's not a reason, Fox. You have a worldview that's based upon blind, irrational faith. Life is really special, but in real life, it's not. It's just an illusion that we have.
No, Trey, I don't have a worldview. I don't particularly have a worldview anyway. And if it was, it wouldn't be. What is my? You don't know it. What's my worldview then, Trey? Go on, then. Give us a laugh.
You have a worldview that says that life is really special to you, but it's a lie. But you're happy to live a lie so that you can use it as a crutch to help you make it through life.
So I think life is special to me. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. I think life is special to other people, other persons as well. I think that's true. I value other people. But I don't think that's not a lie. I'm not lying about that. I'm telling you the truth. Saying
it's a lie that you value things, but you can't give a reason for such a thing. In other words, if I say, objectively speaking, in the big plan of things, does your life matter in the universe apart from your personally thinking that in your mind? Objectively speaking, do you matter?
Do I matter objectively speaking? I mean, I don't think the universe cares slightly in the slightest about anything, because it's not a sentient being. So I mean, value is something that is done by minds. I don't think there is. I don't believe in God. I don't think. I think I matter to other minds, other people who know me. I think potentially, if let's say, I don't think I will, but if I did something remarkable one day, and that might give me a small amount of immortality. I mean, but even then, I don't. I think actually, there's a good poem by Shelley, which is actually called Ozymandias, I think, and it's about the great statues of Ozymandias, Ramesses, King of Kings, whose statue is broken and dust will take it away, and that's just the way reality is. But you're here for a short period of time. You matter to hopefully yourself and to those around you, and that's a very valuable thing to me, and hopefully to those around me. And that's enough for me. I don't feel the need to have some big cosmic pat on the back. I find that slightly sad, and I think that's the crutch for you. I don't have a crutch. I'm motivated by myself and my own my community and my fellow human beings, and I find that's sufficient for me. You're the one who said that that's not enough, that you need that extra layer, and I find that quite sad, to be honest.
So you think that intentionality was intended by unintentionality? That's how it came about. I'm asking for a rational justification. You haven't given it yet. You're just saying it's a just so story. You're saying I value life because that's the kind of creature I am, but I can't give a reason why I value life or what it's for.
No. You see, you're begging the question, Trey, by assuming that that's not a valid response. you are discounting that possibility and inserting that the only valid response is the valid response that fits along with what you want me to say.
Okay, well then justify unintentioned intentionality.
Just that's just blatant word salad. Justify unintentioned intentionality. So do we have to go back around the houses again about how intentionality can arise from unintentional processes?
Unintentionality cannot intentionality before it exists. That's ridiculous. You're violating the law of identity. Unintentionality is not intentionality.
I hope someone's playing the Trey Jadlow bingo right now. I really do. So can you tell us, Trey, and anyone who might be watching, again, why it is that the process of evolution cannot create creatures which can value things and intend things and have intentionality? Why is that not possible?
Well, you're the big bad philosopher. Why don't you tell me Aristotelian philosophy or causality that would demonstrate what does your view lack that is necessary for the creation so far as causality? Which cause is it that it lacks Darwinian evolution?
Well, that rather begs the question that all processes must have all of Aristotle's four causes to them, which I find to be a quite controversial, shall we say, move.
No, it's not.
But I think it is, because that begs the question of the necessity for final causes. I don't.
Oh, so you don't want final cause, so you just deny it because it's inconvenient.
No, but I don't see it. I
wasn't referring to final cause. I was referring to efficient cause.
What's up? What are you doing? Sorry, Trey, I didn't hear that. Sorry, I got distracted by something. You should just bear with me a second, because.
I'm not much for singing, so I can't think of a good joke. Wonder if I could prove to you that a cat has 9 tails.
Right, sorry about that, Trey. You can. What were we talking about? You're talking about.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so we talk about final causes. So you.
Oh no, efficient cause. I want you to tell.
Oh, okay.
Your perspective. Hey, there's no efficiency bringing about value, and the final cause is you do have a final cause. Your final cause is your existence, is it not?
I don't think that quite works. I think you have to stick to efficient causes.
That's what I'm talking about. You have no efficient cause to bring about your efficiency.
So you're saying that doesn't even make any sense. So you're saying that evolution doesn't have efficient causes?
No, it does not. By definition, it's naturalistic.
So you're saying that they cannot be naturalistic efficient causes?
Well, the naturalism you're talking about is instrumental. Those are instruments or material. But you don't have anything being created, any purpose of anything.
Well, again,
but you concede that you're a purposer, right?
Trey, I do find things have purpose, but if you're talking about evolution, what you have is a mechanism which, by naturalistic means, takes simple life forms and have them evolve and adapt to become more complex, to the point where they can then become sentient and then start to have value and purpose to things. And this has been explained to you probably about 20 times.
Because you don't have an answer, so you just say it's a just so story.
But do you not think it's possible, Trey, that when people give you that answer and you say it is a just so story, that you're doing that thing that you have a tendency to do, which is to dismiss what you don't like to hear?
I want you to demonstrate Fox, how a lack of efficiency can create efficiency. It's really simple. It's not
So a lack of efficiency. How an efficient cause? So an efficient cause for you has to be a mind. Do you say is that what you want
It
to?
has to be. It has to be. I would say it had to be sentient, some kind of a purpose.
Right. Okay. Why? Why is that?
Because unintentionality cannot intend
No,
intentionality.
that's just begging the question, though, isn't it, Trey? I'm asking you, why is
You're
it
begging the question, yes.
No, why is it the case that unintentionality cannot intention?
Because unintentionality does not have its opposite as a. It's called law of identity, Fox. You're familiar with that? If something does not have something, then it does not have the thing that it is negating.
Right. Okay, but that's not a violation of the law of identity.
Well, sure it is. You're saying unintentionality is intentionality.
So you don't think, say, for instance, you have a hot ember. Okay, it has heat. It has the property of being hot. Okay, over time, that hot ember its energy can dissipate and it can become cold. Now, that's not a violation of the law of identity, is it, to go from one state which has certain properties to another? Now, yes, that's what we're talking about in terms of evolutionary processes. Yes, it is.
No, we're talking about. No, we're not talking about something changing in state because that's the way the properties work. We're talking about something that does not have something creating its opposite.
It's not. You see,
but something that's inherently not a part of it.
By using the word, you're using loaded language there, Trey. By assuming creation, which we tend to find infers a creator. I mean, I think what I've said before. So think back to that example where you have certain states of biological organisms that are simple and don't have sentience, don't intend anything, don't purpose anything, don't value anything. They become more and more complex over time. Their brains become more and more developed. And at some point along the line, they develop language skills.
Yeah.
And when they've got language skills,
I mean, you just get the same thing over and over. It's not interesting.
But can you tell me how that is impossible? Why that is impossible? But why that story can't happen?
Because you're just saying it just happened by magic, and unintentionality somehow we're not allowed to ask that question, but somehow unintentionality made intention.
Because you again beg the questions and assume that it's impossible. I'm giving you an account.
No, you assume that it is possible, and I'm saying
yes,
I am. We've got to be coherent, my friend.
I am assuming there's no violation of logic by assuming
yes,
that.
You are.
I mean, this is absurd to
You're
think.
Saying something is what it is.
Do you know, Trey, how a single philosopher of logic has ever said that, as far as I'm aware, that the process of evolution violates the law of identity? Do you not think that would be? I mean, logical contradictions are very obvious when they happen, Trey. I don't think you quite understand.
I can't understand why I'm having a hard time right now.
But yet you know that no one else agrees with you, pretty much. So it's quite absurd.
I don't know that. I have no idea at all. That's good. I got it from R.C. Sproul. You think he knows what he's talking about?
I don't think he does. In this instance. If that's what he's saying, I don't think he does. Trey. I think unfortunately R.C. Sproul may have overplayed his hand a little, and I think.
Oh yeah.
To assume that we have any step of if you actually learn. I mean, I'm not an expert on evolution. There are probably people in the community far better than me to actually educate you on this, but there isn't any step. Okay, that we have to go. Oh well, how does that then come into that? I mean, we're talking about sentience as being an emergent property of brains, and brains develop and evolve essentially from.
That's right. It's called special pleading. You're just inventing it, or Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
Not special. It's not special pleading. It's not special. It has empirical evidence. Okay, we can find empirical evidence.
You've never. Where have you ever seen unintentionality give rise to intentionality? That's not empirical. It couldn't be by definition because you are a sentient creature. Hello? Uh-oh. Again, something happened? Fox? Hello? I'm tempted to prove to you that a cat has 9 tails, but I'm afraid I'll mess it up. Come on, Fox. Oh, he left. I wonder if he got mad. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I was kind of wanting to close it down anyway. I've got more work to do than I thought I had. Thank you for tuning in for this edition of Herp Derp Jadlow and his silly ideas. I wish you all the best, and we'll see you later.